Okay, we're back, Adam. All right, I do have a question for you. Okay, now a fellow's asking about um, diabetes,
Yeah.
and with this, the glycer. Is there anything that you would recommend, I guess, to make these tinctures and stuff where a diabetic would be able to? Yeah.
We get
Is
we get
there?
we get that question a lot, actually. Diabetics are generally concerned with sugar intake. If they're trying to avoid sweets or avoid sugars, alcohol tinctures, glycerin tinctures are the way to go. Um, maybe you want to avoid these super sweet edible products. They're going to give you a spike in insulin or whatever. But
So a diabetic should be fine using glycerin then?
using glycerin, or you can
Yeah.
also use like a straight up vegetable oil or a coconut oil. Like we have some diabetic patients who can take the raw coconut oil that's been infused with cannabis and eat it straight, or mix that into their food as needed. We also make certain things. We make things with honey and other,
Yeah. Actually, I've heard of the honey method.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can double boil. You can double boil honey with tincture and infuse the honey with cannabis that way as well. And then that can be added. And then you basically add a cannabis infused sweetener that you can add to drinks and so forth.
Yeah, because like the honey itself has got medicinal properties on top of everything else that you put into it.
Yeah. I mean, honey's like an antibacterial and has all kinds of other properties. It's predominantly sugar.
Okay. Slide over here onto teas. Do you guys have much teas? Like coffee tea to make a can of tea, I guess.
So because cannabinoids are not very soluble into water,
Right.
it's like so if you the best way to use it in a tea would be to use a tincture and add the tincture to a tea. Boiling marijuana in water. Some patients have reported that it works for them. I feel like they have a particular sensitivity to cannabinoids because for the most part that doesn't work.
Would there be any any oils or anything like that would come out of the stock?
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd probably extract a bunch of terpenes and flavor compounds, which are like, supposedly, and have antioxidant effects and so forth and so on. But in terms of your intake of active cannabinoids,
Right.
usually talking about, it's like very low. The cannabinoids don't soak into the water. They will stay
Right.
on the plant. So
Yeah.
you may leach out some chlorophyll and you may leach out some flavors and stuff like that, but you won't be leaching out cannabinoids, which is presumably what you're seeking when you're using cannabis. So if you want to use cannabis in a hot drink or something, you can add it with a tincture, or you can add it with infused cream, or if you have infused sweetener like the honey that we just talked about, you can add that into a tea, and it'll be more effective.
More effective that way. Now you've mentioned oils a few times here as we've been talking. Um, Coconut oil is, from my understanding, a very good oil to be used. Now, I don't know much about as far as it to be used in conjunction with cannabis, but I understand coconut oil has got good medicinal benefits. So,
Yeah, that's
what
what
kind of
I.
oils would you, I guess suggest?
Coconut oil is extremely versatile, and it's a good replacement for people who are maybe lactose intolerant, who don't want to use dairy butter.
So it's
And
like Crohn's.
yeah, anecdotally, we're hearing from patients that we think that the coconut oil that's infused with cannabis is metabolized differently, because a lot of patients are telling us that the stuff made with coconut oil is more potent than stuff made with dairy butter,
Mm-hmm.
but there's the same amount of cannabis in each. The same cookie made with coconut oil and another made with butter, they may have the exact same amount of cannabis, but people are reporting to us that the coconut oil is stronger. So I don't know why that is. I would assume that it has to do with the way coconut oil is metabolized by your body
Right.
than how the dairy butter is, but where we find that it's extremely versatile. It doesn't come from animals. Coconut oil is a plant product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause, one of my past guests, they talked a lot about the coconut oil, so that's why I brought that up. Now, last night, when I showed the movie, someone asked if you can use canola oil,
Yeah,
and the response was, "Ugh, why would you want to use that?"
there are better oils to use, I think.
Well, hemp oil.
The thing with hemp oil is that all the good compounds in hemp oil are very volatile. So so coconut oil is it's a very robust oil. You can heat it up, it will solidify, it will heat it up again, solidify it, like stays the same practically. But
Yeah.
hemp oil, if you heat up hemp oil, you start to break down the good compounds in the hemp oil, and you start to convert some of the good fats into bad fats by heating it up too much. So that's the sort of the two-way street with that. I mean, you could, if you were to do it with hemp oil, you would probably want to do a cold infusion. You don't heat the oil up to a temperature that can destroy it, basically.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that, hot or cold oil infusions, like when it comes to making them.
Best to heat it up. But I've heard of a dispensary at West that takes clarified hemp oil, and they'll add hash oil to the hemp oil, and the hash oil is basically already active, so they just dissolve that into the oil, and so that's one way for them to infuse the cannabinoids into hemp oil without heating it up and destroying the good parts of the hemp oil.
Now, one last thing here on creams. Do you have much to do with creams or balms or anything like that there at the center?
Starting to make topicals. We're starting to get into it. Getting a bit more demand for it. It's not. It's probably the least requested item, but certainly it is something people are looking into, and what something that patients want. We are looking into making just sex.
Yep, go ahead. I know you're at work, right?
We just closed. We're starting to make topicals. We're starting to get into it. I had an inquiry from a physician about topicals. Anecdotally, I know patients who are using it to treat psoriasis, to treat eczema, and there are some patients who are actually using it to treat pain. They're applying it topically to sites where they're experiencing pain.
Arthritis in the hands.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the problem is we don't have the research on topicals is very sparse. So a lot more needs to be done so that we can work out how this is happening, how this is working, or if it's just a placebo effect.
Because that's last night's movie. We're talking to some people who have been dealing with some cancers, some skin cancers, and that, and they talked about using the topical creams.
Yeah.
And the one fellow, he was all set to go in for surgery, and he kept applying his cream to the bad spot, and it was down to an eighth of its size by the time he went to that day to do the surgery. So they ended up just taking out the nucleus of it. But the rest of it, they were just surprised at how much it had shrunk just from using the cream. So it's good to be able to have people right there that can talk and testify about that.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. So, when you're making these alternatives, should the material be dry, wet?
Dry.
Dry.
Yeah.
Out of them, what's the easiest one you think is easy to do?
I mean, I'll take time. Really, the thing with making the thing with these processes is that they smell to high heaven. So when you're making a batch of cannabis butter, it'll reek up your whole house. And that's the biggest complaint we get from patients who try to do it at home. And it's often what leads patients to just buy cannabis butter from us, as opposed to going through the whole ordeal. Some patients have kids in the house. Some patients, our space here is equipped with ventilation systems that don't allow the noxious odor to linger further. So
Does hang around for a while, doesn't it?
It really sticks. So be cognizant of that. Try and run a little carbon filter or scrubber in the room
Yeah.
to control it, or do it under a fume hood. It's a very simple process, but all of it, it all comes down to essentially the same thing. I mean, I guess which one is the easiest? I think tincture is the easiest because you just toast the cannabis, put it in the alcohol, and shake it every day.
Yeah. So I look at the easiest because some people's conditions, there's some processes that are just too hard that they can't do. So
totally. I mean, making cannabis butter can be extremely labor intensive. I mean,
right.
One thing is just put the cannabis into the butter and turn it on the crock pot, the slow cooker. But then when it comes time to squeezing out the cannabis and running it through the stuff, and it takes some muscle to do that sometimes. So you want to have the right equipment. You want to have like a press or a potato ricer to help you. You want a cheesecloth, those kind of things.
Right. Okay, another commercial break. Be right back.